Sangye Chodang Soki Chodam La Janjoy Baradu Dagni Kyapsu Ishi Dagi Jin Soki Pe Sonam Ki Drola Penche Sangye Dropa Shu. To the excellent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge until the attainment of enlightenment through the merit of my generosity and so forth. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of benefiting beings. So, today, I will say few things about the mind and the different aspects or the layers of mind. Since when we say practicing Dharma, it's very much understanding, balancing, and the recognizing the healthy and unhealthy minds through the mindfulness, alertness, and the carefulness, and trying to create positive or the healthy habits of those minds by discriminating through understanding what is illusion mind, what is the incorrect mind, and what is correct mind, which sees the reality and so forth. So, because of that, in Dhammapada, where Buddha summarized all his teaching and says, taming one's mind is the essence of my teaching, or the Dhamma. So definitely it is relevant to think about mind, to analyze, to familiarizing with the nature and the functions of mind. First of all, as Milarepa said in his instructions, that of course there is layers of things that we must do, such as studying, contemplation, meditation, and all those stages of path. But
it is also very important to not to fall into the one extreme and stuck there, and you try to look at from only that perspective, not being able to see it as a whole picture. And he says that when you get hungry, you can study about the food, you can talk a lot about the food, but at the end, until you put it inside your mouth, chew it, and then swallow it, still you're hungry. It doesn't really satisfy. So it is also the same. Sometimes we study too much about the mind, and sometimes we get lots of information, but because of laziness, many reasons, we forget that that other part, like eating part, we forget. We argue, we talk about recipes. No, this will be too sweet. No, you should put more salt. It will, no. All these mental speculations. Of course, these are a very important part, but it's important to transit from that, to doing something. So what I'm trying to say is that many times we try to understand the Dharma without doing Dharma. That becomes quite complicated, because it is almost like Milarepa said, you're trying to understand the taste of food, through the discussing the recipes of food and speculating it, So if you really want to get some grasp, some comprehensions of the mind, Dharma in general, especially the mind, you have to really use it and experiment it, see what happens. That's important. And since we already have mind, we already have emotions, you don't have to buy it, in order to experiment it. And you don't have to go to the lab to do that, because as long as you have 5 aggregates, body and mind, you have a perfect lab. And then if you want some more important tools, then our friends and our enemies are the very important tools to do investigations, how our mind works. And I guess we have no lack of friends and enemies. It doesn't necessarily has to be someone, but it could be anything that you're strongly attached to, holding on, or something that you're strongly irritated of. You can use all these appearances, object of your judgment, as in tools to investigate our minds, action and reaction. And because of this, in fact, this Buddha Dhamma, in our traditional way, among the several sets of knowledge, and it's also called the knowledge of inner meaning, or you can call it inner science in a way, or logic of inner in the sense mind. So even in the practice, it doesn't really matter whether you do these physical things as practice, verbal things, meditation, or the rituals, everything. If you observe it from the little bit outside of that, it always comes down to the one point as a target, final target, so to speak. It always comes down to this means in order to free ourselves from this ego, which is again kind of one aspect of mind. And because of that, in many Pit instructions, they always says that whatever you do, if it points out towards the ego as a target, that is a dharma. Whenever you miss that, then even though seemingly it might seem you are doing something very important, but still it might not hit the vital points of your practices. So I'm trying to say is that when we say understand, we're not really talking about getting a lot of information, reading a lot of books, but yes, these are some way to start, but trying to really embark on the journey of this mind in our daily life. And if you are adventurous, you can do it more dramatically, such as visualizing yourself as a Buddha or Guru Rinpoche. If you are more like easygoing journey, if you're a little bit scared of this adventurous journey, then do mindfulness of body, mindfulness of breath. Start from there. So very good. So it's up to you whether you are simple backpacker or the adventurous, what do you call?
Mountaineer.
Traveler. So, of course, the first of all is that before you start to transform the mind, is that you have to kind of calm down the mind, because then if you, from the very beginning, if you start to manipulate mind, it will become a very difficult, because you become a very subjective, you won't be able to be objective to the mind. So you have to learn a little bit calm down, and then when you're a little bit slow down, a little bit still, and then you will see more clear. So this is general rule, whether it is simple meditation, analytical meditation, or even if you are dealing with this strong emotional ups and downs. The first thing is just start with calm down, for a few seconds or minutes, and then you can start thinking, analyzing it. That's important. Now, there's a lot of, in Buddhism, especially in the Abhidharma section, and then especially in the Chitta Matrin schools, the definition and the explanation in the category of mind is very rich. Maybe some of them a little bit, we might find it a little bit abstract, philosophical, but many of them, if we do a little bit introspection, it's not that like something that is talking about out of our experience. We will find out all these layers. So, for example, we define mind as an that is luminous by nature, by essence, and aware or awareness as in its functions. So when we say luminous, mind has certain kind of potentials, or the energy, or maybe I don't know, this substance that is different from the nature of matter, which is self-knowing, self-recognizing, self-awareness, being able to think, being able to aware, being able to experience things. And also mind has a potential which goes beyond the rule of the matters, such as time, space, size. We can go to past, future, we can imagine anything that you want, something like that. And the one big quality or the characters of mind is that is nature. So nature of mind is always clear. That is the one very important aspect of mind in general, especially from the Mahayana's point of view, that it doesn't matter how many years you have been deluded and how many layers of obscurations you have, but ultimately the almost like unchanging, unconditional nature of mind will be always luminous. This is important aspects in Mahayana Buddhism. Understanding that is understanding the ultimate reality. So, because of that, in practice, as there's only two things you do: discovering that nature of mind which is luminous is the first thing. You can also call it as the discovering the view. And sustaining that luminous will be developing that luminous or the clarity aspects of mind. And that is the whole meditation or practice. So if you look at and summarize everything into this two things: discovering that and then developing that with the. So even if you look at this so-called 10 bhumis, 5 paths, it's all about that: preparation, discovering, developing stage, and then the completion or the resultant, when it is a completely, thoroughly mastered. go back to make it more practical. Okay, so there's many ways to categorize mind, but I think to make it simplify, we can say that first of all our experiences, it's important to analyze. Are these so-called problems, suffering, happiness, is it out there something, or it is nothing but my mental reaction towards the conditions? This is because if it is something out of our mental experience, then even we try to change our reactions, still you will be suffering. So this is the first kind of analysis we should do and come to the conclusion, yes, it's nothing but my mental reaction towards the occasions, environment, conditions. And this is not difficult, because when you get disappointed, it is something there, or it is my reactions towards the something that is happening. Anger, attachment, jealousy, all these things we can analyze them. And this is also, we can call it analytical meditations, but it doesn't really mean like you have to sit like this, focus now, but you just observe, how your mind processes that condition. And you will come to the conclusion that all these are nothing, all my experiences are nothing but the reactions towards the object of the conditions. This is quite clear. So now you can look at, you will come to some sort of conclusions that yes, this mind is like the main player, so to speak. He is the main player. He or it, or I don't know, she. Okay, now if you look at, I think very good thing is, we call it, we can call it, I think, we call it the habitual tendencies or all-ground mind and the rapiding mind, but I think we can call it conscious and subconscious mind, right? If you observe. So what is our reactions? So let's say the mental action, right? Mental action is of course the reactions towards the conditions. So this mental action, so who is the behind that, Who is the architect behind that mental reactions? Who tells these mental reactions to react in this and that way? It's almost like our mental reaction is like actor, and there's a director behind that. There's a whole script to tell you, okay, so react this way, react that way. And this script that is written is called the subconscious mind, and you react accordingly. Now the problem is that there's a big gap between what we wish, and also the reason why we call our mind uncontrollable, because again, see, mind does something, we want something, and something happens. Yeah. So let's say in our life, maybe it's a very good example is that in this world, yeah, if we talk to the people, each other, and especially these days, it sounds like, wow, this world is filled with the wisdom people, smart people, right? We are in the 21st century. But then if you look at what's happening in the world, it looks like, wow, world is full with the stupid people, you know. So why is that happening? It's same with ourselves, you know. Probably if I have to really observe myself, maybe when I talk, you know, I might sound very smart person, but if I look at how I react, I might look very quite stupid. Especially when I look at myself, because I know very well all these misreactions that I do. You know? Okay, so this is the one. Why we do things, no, why we don't do things the way what we want to do. Yeah? Why things doesn't happen the way we want as a person's behavior. The reason is that we think, this is one way, you know, like let's say I want to study 9 hours a day. This is my thinking, right? But then what I do, yeah, sleep until 10 o'clock, yeah. So why is that happening, you know? What there's a contradiction, because it's nobody is coming and, you know, saying to me that you should do this, otherwise punish. No, I have almost 100% freedom, logically speaking, right? But something is happening that I don't want, but things not happening the way I want, you know, in our life. Maybe I don't want to be angry person, but you know, you get angry. So why is happening like that? If mine is my mind. So now the problem is that there's a big gap between our conscious mind and subconscious mind. And that's why we think in a way and we behave in a way. So again, this behavior, yeah, this behavior is a unhealthy system that we are used to it. So to put it easy, we will do what we are used to it, not what we think. We will do whatever that we are familiar with it. And this is exactly what subconscious mind. Whatever the script that is written in our subconscious mind, you know, this our behavior, which is like actor, will act according to that. So this is very important, that we have to change the subconscious mind. Until we change the subconscious mind, transform the subconscious mind, it doesn't really matter how much you think, you know, your behavior, your reaction. I'm not talking behavior as in the physical behavior, but your mental reaction won't be changed. So it's like this. So we need a conscious mind and we need a subconscious mind. There's a big gap, so we have to join it together properly, you know. And it is it's like subconscious is mind like a very strong body, you know. He can do a lot of things. He has a lot of power, energy. But he doesn't have a head. He just follow, you know. He just do what he is used to. He doesn't know right, wrong, you know. He's used to sleep until 10 o'clock. I will sleep, you know. It doesn't matter. If the clock says, makes, what do you call it?
Alarm?
Alarm, you just turn it off. 5 minutes, more 5 minutes. So, our conscious mind is like a head, very smart, it knows a lot. But when it comes to reaction, behaving, you know, when it comes to doing something, since he doesn't have a body, he cannot do anything, he just watch there. You know, and then complain about subconscious mind. And this is why it's very obvious that such thing as addiction, yeah, is exactly what it is. Addiction is that your subconscious mind is very badly informed. He become a very wild. So the problem is that it almost become, there's a certain kind of like a half of me wants something, half of me does something. Half of me, you know, wants to wake up 5 o'clock, and half of me wants to sleep, forget about everything. So this paradox is almost like a problem of our daily life as well as our whole life. If you put the whole life, there's this paradox. We want something, but then we do something. And this is exactly when we say meditation, actually is nothing but trying to, you know, trying to work through our conscious mind, which will be the analytical meditation starting, and then sending the right message, because your subconscious mind is stupid, you know. He will just listen whatever is taught, but he won't do it. So you have to send the right message to your subconscious mind, you know, right view, you know, through the right view, right action. So you have to, but this is what we call meditation, because it doesn't just happen by doing it once. We have to do it again and again, you know. Since he's not that smart, you know, you have to habituate it, you have to custom with it, and this is what we call the meditation. You have to cultivate that habit, system, pattern. And this is exactly what you do, meditation. And sometimes you start with here, sometimes you go down. So you have, let's say you have a strong body and then smart head, then you are good. Right? Otherwise, if you just become a one of head, or then it becomes a useless head, but a danger power. And this is for example, it's very obvious that, like, if you ask people, is it good to eat a fast food, right? If you interview 10 people, maybe it's very likely that out of 9 people or 8 people will say, no, you should not eat it, you know, it's not healthy, this and that. But it is one of the most famous, you know, in the world. Yeah? Why? Because it's not the aliens coming and take away, you know, we are eating them. So, when somebody asks, it's good to eat the fast food, you say, no, you should not eat. You know, our conscious mind is talking, our subconscious mind is smiling. Let's see. But when you're hungry, you know, and smell this burger or something, or anything, you know, your conscious mind is, you know, you just disappears, or you have no idea, your subconscious mind will just grab that, put it in your mouth, forget everything. And then your subconscious mind will look at your conscious mind and say, okay, now who's the boss? So the idea is that we have to change, in order to change our reaction, we have to change this system, this habit. In order to do that, you have to go through your conscious mind, understanding, experiencing, and the realization means when your subconscious mind is fully convinced, then this is what we call the realization. Yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, I think it's a bit like this. I don't know, like drinking. I don't know, like drinking, right? So you want to change the habit of drinking, and first of all, our conscious mind will know it's not good to drink. I mean, strong drinking. But then, when you get a little bit thirsty, of course you have lots of excuses. Oh, I'm tired. It's nice weather, and then, because you don't want to feel bad. Oh, because this birthday. Oh, it's my friend. So you drink it. Now it's all about view, again. So when your subconscious mind is convinced that this is something like it is, I don't know, energetic or delicious food, you see that, so that's your view. But then, I don't know, slowly you do something and try to, make the gap, and then slowly, and you also maybe understand what is happening in reality or what happens during it. So what happens is that it's not that you're pushing your subconscious mind, suppressing, but your subconscious mind will convince that this is not a food. It is not something that you should put in your mouth, And then you don't have to fight it, because you don't just see it as a food. Well, you put it in your mouth, right? Instead of saying, I want to drink it, but... So this changing the view, see? The view makes big difference, right? Before, you still see the delicious food you want to eat, but your subconscious mind is not changed, but you are not eating it, so that is suppressing. Yeah, of course, we have to start from there, otherwise we cannot do it. But then this suppression will slowly transform into the realization, based on the reality, not from the subjective, yeah? And this is why everything becomes natural, so you don't have to push anger. No, it's not like that. Just because you don't see the reason to get angry, you don't see the reason to, or you just don't perceive it as that kind of object of that reaction, and everything changes when your view changes. Of course, view, again, it's not like just one thing, it takes time, remember, understanding view, yeah, and it goes to the realization view. And when you have a realization view, your world is different, and because of that, you react differently. And your practice becomes very flawless, what do you call effortless, yeah, and spontaneous, yeah? Because this is how you see, and this is how it's very natural for you not to get angry. It's not like you have to push, there's no contradiction, there's no sense of like, what do you call contradiction, paradox feeling. Do you remember the paradox feeling about conscious and subconscious mind? Yeah, it will slowly dissolve, and you will have a very clear view about who you are, and you will be able to do what you wanted to do. Because conscious mind and subconscious mind becomes one. They agree to each other. Now, because they have different view, which doesn't fit together. Our subconscious mind is convinced to one way, and our conscious mind is convinced to another way, and they're fighting each other. And so this, most of the time what happens is that we don't do much contemplation. We study and then we meditate, yeah? And there's also difficult, it's like jumping. So there's no like slow transition. So the contemplation is important somewhere in between. Again, I think word sometimes in English is a little bit difficult because in Tibetan we have Sthirpa, Sampa, Gompa. So it's studying, learning, or then contemplation somewhere in middle, and the meditation. Yeah. So I think in a way you can say that in this sense the contemplation means that you get the information and trying to filter that information, and see how to work with that information, and trying to put those information together and trying to see from the bigger picture, how they fit each other. And again, it's also a little bit like analytical meditation, but not like resting meditation. You're just focusing, doing nothing. You're analyzing, but at the same time trying to be more familiar with the reality. You're training your mind with certain kind of directing them. It's like it's almost like the conscious mind is trying to communicate with the subconscious mind. So its contemplation is somewhere in middle. It's not completely just experience, but it's also not completely just thought. Somewhere, it's a little bit thought, a little bit experiencing. So trying to transform that thought into experience. That's exactly what contemplation means here. So contemplation is important in order to send that message to our subconscious mind. It's kind of like a in middle, in between, medium, transition kind of state. And to do that, there are many techniques and states that is mentioned in the text. Many meditation instructions in Buddhism. You will find such as looking at the object and coming back to the mind, looking at the empty aspects of mind and going to the luminous aspects of mind. You can do that. First you look out, observe, and then slowly absorbing the observer, and then going back to the non-duality. So there's many ways we call the 4 ways or 4 stages, or sometimes 3 stages, steps, how you analyze, how you go out and come back into your own inner kind of these experiences. So yeah, these are some basic things that we should know in order to work with our mind, and I think it will give you some ideas of how our mind reacts, and how our mind's reaction is very much influenced by our subconscious mind or our behavior, and how we can undo that by going back, almost like going back to reverse. Sanam Diya Tam Che Sipani
Tame nebe ranam anjene Kega nache bala trupaye Sipe sole droa droa sho. By this merit may all attain omniscience. May it defeat the enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara may I free all beings.